$0. That's the number on your banking app right now, and you're staring at it like it might change if you look long enough. It won't. Your phone feels heavier than it should. Here's the truth nobody tells you. 0 isn't the absence of money. It's the most expensive number there is. You find that out fast. You're at the checkout line, card in hand, and the screen flashes red. Insufficient funds. The person behind you shifts their weight. You mumble something and step aside, face hot, heart pounding. Later that week, you call about an apartment. The landlord asks for a cosigner. Not because you seem unreliable, just because the number next to your name says you're a risk. A bank charges you a fee for not having enough money, which is the strangest kind of punishment there is. This is what 0 does. It doesn't just sit there quietly. It reaches into your choices and rewrites them. You don't decide where you live. You don't decide what you buy. At $0, you don't make decisions. Your bank account makes them for you.
Level 1, $1,000. That's the line everyone calls a starter emergency fund, and you finally cross it. Then your car makes a sound it shouldn't make. The mechanic gives you a number, $400. Your stomach used to drop at numbers like that. This time, it doesn't. You hand over the card, sign the receipt, and drive home like nothing happened, because nothing did. Your shoulders sit a little lower these days. Your breath comes out slow and even, not short and tight. You check your banking app the same way you check the weather, just to know, not because you're scared of what you'll find. The bank notices too, in its own quiet way. No more low balance alerts buzzing on your phone. No more warning emails with red exclamation marks. You've gone from a flagged account to an ignored one, and ignored feels like a gift. Think back to that $400 emergency at 0. It didn't just cost money. It cost rent, sleep, a fight with someone you loved. The same $400 now barely makes you blink. Same bill, same number, completely different life. $1,000 doesn't make you rich. It doesn't buy a house or a vacation or a new life. It makes you stable enough to think.
Level 2, $10,000 saved. You don't owe anyone anymore. The last credit card payment cleared last week, and for the first time in years, no minimum payment sits on your calendar. That bill is just gone, like it was never there. You let out a breath you didn't know you'd been holding. It comes out slow, almost shaky, the way air leaves a tire. Your shoulders drop another inch. Nothing outside has changed yet, but something inside has. Then a lender pulls your credit report for a small loan you're thinking about. The tone on the call is different this time. No nervous pause, no request for a cosigner. Just a quick, "You're pre-approved," said the way someone says good morning. Remember the call at $0 when the same kind of lender needed someone else to vouch for you? Now, they don't ask who's backing you up. They just check the numbers and move forward. That's the strange part about debt-free. Nobody throws a party for it. No one notices but you and the people checking your file. But they notice fast. At $10,000, institutions stop questioning you and start qualifying you.
Level 3, $25,000, the plateau. Most people stop at level 2. You feel safe now, and that's exactly the problem. A raise hits your paycheck, and instead of saving it, you sign a lease on a nicer apartment. A new car payment follows, $400 a month, money that didn't leave your account a year ago. You stop checking your balance before you buy things. You just swipe, trusting it'll be fine, and it usually is. That trust feels good. It also feels like enough. Your coworker Marcus notices the new car in the parking lot. "Look at you," he says, smiling, half impressed. "You're doing great." You smile back and believe him, because it's true, sort of. The apartment is nicer. The car is newer. The compliments feel like proof. But think back to $1,000, when relief meant something. Back then, every dollar saved felt urgent, like it mattered.
the discipline that built this comfort is quietly gone now, traded for a better couch and a shorter commute. Nobody told you to stop. You just did, slowly, without noticing. This is where most people stay. Not because they fail, but because comfort feels close enough to success that nobody questions it. $25,000 doesn't trap you in debt. It traps you in comfort. And comfort doesn't compound.
Level 4, $100,000 saved. This is the number where investing stops being a side note and starts being real. You open your brokerage statement one morning and see it grew by $1,200 last month. You didn't deposit that. The market just did it while you slept. Checking the account turns into a habit, but not the nervous kind from years ago. Now you check it out of curiosity, like reading the weather just because you're interested. There's no fear in it anymore. Marcus, your coworker from a few years back, catches you at lunch. "Hey," he says, a little quieter than usual, "what app do you use for investing?" The question feels different than his old compliments. He's not noticing your lifestyle now. He's asking how to build one. Back at $25,000, every dollar came from work. A paycheck, an hour, a shift. Now some of your money comes from money itself, growing on its own while you do something else entirely. 2 paychecks running at once, but only one of them needs you to show up. That first $100,000 took everything you had. Late nights, small sacrifices, years of saying no. The first $100,000 is the only one you have to earn alone. After that, money helps.
Level 5, $500,000 saved. This is the level where leverage starts working for you instead of against you. Your phone rings and it's the bank, calling you for once instead of the other way around. They offer a mortgage rate lower than the one advertised online, the kind reserved for people they trust. You sign the paperwork slowly, calmly, your hand steady on the pen. No nervous pause this time, no second-guessing the numbers. A few days later, the same bank, yes, the one that once asked for a cosigner, assigns you a private banker. Nobody asked for this. A woman named Claire calls to introduce herself, says she'll handle your accounts personally from now on, and to call her directly with anything you need. Think back to that cosigner request at $0, when the bank needed someone else to vouch for you just to rent an apartment. Now, the same kind of institution is reaching out, offering service instead of demanding proof. Same building, same logo, completely different posture. You used to chase approval. Now, approval chases you. At $500,000, you stop asking banks for money. They start asking for your business.
Level 6, $1 million saved. Your net worth crosses 7 figures, and almost nothing about your day changes. You still drive the same car, you still order the same coffee. Wealth at this level stops being something you show and starts being something you just have. Your financial advisor calls with a plan to restructure your portfolio. A few smart moves, a few accounts shifted around, and your effective tax rate drops by several points. You didn't ask for this. You barely understood half the terms. You just signed where she pointed. That's the quiet part of this level. At $100,000, you picked your own investments, read articles, made your own calls late at night. Now, someone else studies the market for you, and you find out what happened after it's already done. Then an email arrives, an invitation to a private investment fund, the kind that doesn't advertise. Nobody explains how they got your name. They just assume you'll understand. Your life still looks the same from the outside. Same house, same neighborhood, same quiet mornings. But the calls coming in have changed completely. $1 million doesn't change how you live. It changes who calls you.
Level 7, $10 million plus. The ceiling, full requirements. At this level, money stops being a number you check and starts being a structure you manage. An estate attorney sits across from you, talking through a trust, moving $6 million into it for your kids and their kids, people you'll never meet. You stop checking your balance altogether. It doesn't matter anymore. Whatever it says, the structure around it holds steady either way.
Claire, your banker from years ago, doesn't pitch you products anymore. She waits for your decisions and builds around them. The same bank that once needed proof you'd pay rent now just follows your lead. Remember that quiet invitation at $1 million? The one that landed in your inbox out of nowhere? At this level, you don't wait for invitations. You create them. Other people wait for your call now. That's really what's been changing this whole time. Not the number, not the houses or the cars or the trusts. It's been about who picks up the phone and who waits on the other end of it.
Somewhere else, right now, a stranger opens a banking app. The screen loads slowly. $0. They stare at it the way you once did, phone heavy in their hand. The screen looks harmless enough. The balance isn't terrible. Nothing looks wrong at all. But every fortune starts on the same screen. Not with $1 million sitting in an account. Not with some brilliant idea nobody else thought of. Just money, sitting still, doing nothing. The only difference is what you do the day after you see the zero. Most people stop at level 3 because earning feels safer than owning. Every level above it is simply money learning how to work without you.